Welcome to Real People, Real Voices. I'm your host, James Jackson.
I'm your co-host, Pastor Wayne Moore.
Always a pleasure to host with you.
It is, man. It's a blessing to be alive. It's a blessing to sit here in a Zoom with my dear friend and brother and colleague, and to be on Channel 40, spreading the good news to Central Indiana.
For as long as we've been doing it now.
Why, my God. And we have some sponsors. Am I at liberty to do that?
Absolutely.
Yes, we want to thank Tamiko and Associates for being with us, a real estate company, Martin University, Marion County Public Health Department, Isles Martin Shoes and Clothing, His Place Eatery, and we also have Fervent Care Christian Academy and Northside Windows and Gutters Cleaning. And lastly, we have Lee Cussell and Crawley. Those are our sponsors right here on Real People, Real Voices.
That's 8 sponsors.
Yeah, I believe by the summer, the Lord will give us at least 2 or 3 more, because I believe this show is a great show and is giving pertinent information. It has a balance to it that is unheard of right now in Central Indiana that I think is great.
That's true. And for those of you who want to find out more about it, you can go to WHMB TV 40 on YouTube, watch this show when it's done, and others that you might have missed. And
you can like us on Facebook, because we're there waiting on you.
Now, Dr. Moore, we need some new updated pictures.
Yeah, we need to do that as soon as we get out of this COVID. We're going to have some shots made and do what we need to do to make it happen, because, this is a major show, man.
Amen.
The city's depending on us. The state is depending on us. So we got to do it.
Well said. We have an esteemed guest going to be joining us, attorney Vanita Banks, here in just a little bit. So stay with us. We'll be back after this. Well, welcome back to Real People, Real Voices, and we are joined by attorney Vanita Banks, Esquire. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Pastor Jackson and Moore. Thank you for having me. It's really
Happy
great
to have you.
Join you this afternoon.
Yes.
Yeah, happy to have you. And you are a native of Indianapolis.
I was born and raised in Indianapolis. I am a proud Hoosier. My values were formed and shaped in Indianapolis, of course, by my mom and family, but also by, wonderful teachers and counselors and church leaders. I went to high school at Shortridge High School and lived in a special moment in time where my neighborhood was still somewhat integrated when I went to Shortridge. And I know that the author Kurt Vonnegut wrote, he's also a Shortridge graduate, wrote that he wished that everyone could have a public education like his public high school education at Shortridge High School. So I am a proud product of the Indianapolis public school systems.
Attorney, I have to interject this. How many times did you witness the Crispus Attucks Tigers whipping up on the Shortridge Blue Devils?
Well, a couple of times, I'll have to admit.
Yeah, okay.
That was really a great rivalry between our 2 great high schools, yeah. I have to say. And you're making me think back to a great experience in high school that I had where I served as a exchange student at Crispus Attucks for a whole week. And that was really a great experience. Yeah. So you had some legendary teams on which I understand that you played on several of those legendary teams.
Yeah, it was 2 great players that came out of Crispus Attucks. Oscar Robertson, everybody knows. And for some reason or another, my publication got lost, but it was Oscar Robertson and myself. Yes.
Absolutely. That is fantastic. That is really great.
Speaking of great, you are past president and current board of governors. Our viewing audience may not know the significance of that. Could you share with us?
I'm past president of the National Bar Association, or the NBA, not to be confused with the National Basketball Association. My goal is that every child in this nation will know what the National Bar Association is. The National Bar was founded in 1925 in Des Moines, Iowa, by 10 legendary lawyers who had been denied admission to the American Bar Association, which is the majority bar association. And those 9 lawyers included Gertrude Rush. She was the sole female founder of the National Bar Association. And she practiced law in Chicago. And a little known fact is that she wrote the lyrics to the hymn, Jesus Loves the Little Children.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that one. Yeah.
And the National Bar is the oldest and largest association of predominantly African-American lawyers and judges and law students. And we represent a network of over 70,000 legal professionals in our nation. And we are the legal conscious of our nation. And we work very closely with the Congressional Black Caucus, which is the legislative conscious of our nation. And our mission is to serve as the voice of the voiceless, those that can't represent themselves. We support and draft and shape policy and legislation. We also advocate for diversity on the bench.
Wow, that's great. With all going on in our society right now, as a lawyer, what are you focusing on?
We're focused on a number of things. First, we're focused on COVID-19. We have an intense focus on COVID-19, first collaborating with organizations across the country, including faith-based organizations, to ensure that we are addressing the vaccine hesitancy that many of our communities have, and they have a well-founded mistrust in the medical system based on historic treatment dating back to the Tuskegee experiment, Henrietta Lacks. And so we're intensely focused on ensuring that our communities have access to information that they need to make an informed decision regarding the COVID-19 vaccine, that they can distinguish between fact and fiction, and that also, and equally as importantly, that they have equitable access to the vaccine. And so we're working very closely with organizations from faith-based to civic, social organizations to members of the medical community to ensure that accurate information gets in the hands of our communities, and that information is delivered by trusted messengers. And so we've seen our Vice President, Kamala Harris, take the vaccine. She has assured us that it is safe. We know that our own Kizzy Corbett, a brilliant 34-year-old African-American female scientist, was a leader of the team that developed the vaccine. And so I'm focused very intensely on educating our community, serving as that trusted messenger in our communities to ensure, one, that we meet people where they are. We can't just push aside the well-founded mistrust that exists. But in this historic moment in time, I believe that we have an opportunity to have a racial reckoning of the disproportionate and disparate impact and social determinants that have resulted in COVID-19, resulting in African Americans' death 3 times that of white Americans, and that we can ensure, and I'm intensely focused on moving forward, ensuring that we infuse equity in every aspect of the medical system moving forward.
Well, certainly, we're glad to have you, and we have to take a quick break. And when we come back, want to hear more about the kind of things that you all are doing, and perhaps you can encourage some young people to become lawyers as well. Stay with us. Real People, Real Voices will be back. Welcome back to Real People, Real Voices, and we are joined, having a esteemed guest today.
Yes, we do.
Banks.
Yeah.
Dr.
Moore, we're just so privileged to
Yeah.
have someone such as Attorney Banks spending time with us today.
Attorney Banks,
It
where are you
truly is an
located?
honor to be here. Thank you.
Where are you located right now? We know you're a Hoosier, but where are you residing now?
I'm residing in Lake County, Illinois, which is about 35 miles north of Chicago.
Okay.
I live very close to the Illinois-Wisconsin state line.
Okay.
I'm not as far north as Gurnee, where many of you may be aware of where Great America is,
Yeah.
the amusement park.
Yeah.
But I live in that general area.
You said something earlier about equity, and let me ask you a question as an attorney, and I want to see this through your lens. Do you think that during the process of this vaccination, that it is becoming a disparity in some communities?
A disparity in terms of access to the
Yes.
vaccine?
Yes.
Absolutely, absolutely. Currently, we can be assured that there will be a national plan to disseminate the vaccine. We discovered that there was not such a national coordinated plan, which is key and vital to ensuring that we prevent a disparity. Currently, there is a disparity. When I look at the numbers of African American communities and African Americans that have been vaccinated, there is currently a disparity, both here in the Chicagoland area, and I'm sure in Indiana and Indianapolis as well. But the plan is to ensure that our communities are targeted, 1, for education efforts, and 2, to actually receive the vaccine. And that those vaccines, there are some towns and communities that may not have access to pharmacies, for example. And so we have to make sure that the vaccines are disseminated through community centers, through churches. Your own churches may be a great location for vaccines to actually be disseminated, through health centers as well. And so, but we have to have a national plan coordinated at the top, working with governors and mayors and other elected officials to ensure that we stop, Pastor Moore, this current lack of equity that exists with respect to the vaccine dissemination to communities of color and specifically to African American communities.
Wow. I listened to you talk a moment about the aspect of understanding how you could make very viable the equity piece to it. Talk about that.
Well, first we have to examine the medical system from top to bottom. I mean, it's one of those institutions that we have to look at. When we talk about systemic racism and we talk about institutions, one of the things that I think we're all understanding now is that these institutions were established and they're working exactly how they were intended to work. So we have to look at the medical system. We have to analyze the historic disparities. The COVID-19 exposed long-standing disparities that many of us have always known existed in the medical system. The social determinants of health, for example, where your zip code can have a big impact on your mortality. Access to food. You know, there are many communities that are food deserts. I'm really happy to shout out the work of the Flanner House, for example, that has, in collaboration with, I believe, Purdue University, they have, planted a garden. They have several acres where they've planted a garden where they're addressing the issue of food insecurity. Access to healthcare is a big, issue as well. And so we have to look at the cultural competency of those that are providing healthcare to communities of color. And we also have to look at the percentages of African-American doctors. Like lawyers, those percentages are well below our representation in the greater population. And so we need more Black lawyers and we need more Black doctors, to the point about medical equity, Pastor Moore.
Thank you.
Before we have to let you go, you talked about needing more Black doctors, Black attorneys. What would be your advice to young people who might be interested in practicing law?
My advice would be to just do it. I decided to become a lawyer at age 7, and that was based on images of lawyers on television. For me, it was Perry Mason. But I believe very strongly that the law and medicine, I'm sure, is a calling, and it's not a mere profession, and that we are called to uplift our communities, and that lawyers and doctors are natural leaders of our communities. And in this historic moment in time, and let me just say that lawyers have been at the forefront of every major point in our history and in our democracy. And this is a very critical inflection point where young people have the opportunity, if you have a desire to serve others, to address and change policy that will be in the best interest of preserving and protecting our democracy as we move forward. We say that, and I believe, and actually Martin Luther King Jr. stated that the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice. And so one of the most impressive images for me was to see Vice President Kamala Harris standing in front of the Lincoln Memorial on inauguration night. And that picture just shows how much history was made that day. And I encourage young people to consider the practice of law to help to preserve and protect our democracy and to continue to make history.
Thank you. Well said. And Perry Mason certainly on all of his cases, and will be proud to see that is indicative of your case record as well. Thank you so much for being with us. Stay with us. We'll be back. Welcome back to Real People, Real Voices, and we're here with The Rundown. I'm James Jackson, your host.
Yeah, co-host Pastor Wayne Moore.
I'm Curtis Baker with TV 40. How you doing, guys?
Doing pretty good, my friend. Doing good.
You guys looking good.
Trying to stay warm, you know.
I like those backgrounds. COVID has taught us so much with the Zoom conference calls and how we can get so creative with our backgrounds. And you have a picture of Ali with that Sonny Liston on the ground there, Pastor Moore. And then Pastor Jackson, looks like you're on the scene from the Jeffersons, moving on up to the east side. Deluxe apartment in the sky look in the background. Is that?
It could be anywhere.
And yours is like an office where they've done nothing to it for you.
Absolutely. This is called low budget. This is what it's called. Actually, it's no budget. How about that?
Okay.
No, we had a great guest today, though.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jackson. Go ahead, Doc.
Well, we've got about 55 seconds. Not much we can do, but she made me think about what the NAACP had many years ago, where they were able to access legal resources for what they were trying to do, and in similar fashion. And I think that's so important, and that we need to utilize these kinds of things more often with regard to what's happening locally.
And she's in an area where the NAACP is still relatively strong and still has great movement throughout the communities.
Yeah, we'll let that be the last word. Thank you all for joining us.
Thank you for our sponsors.
Yes.
And we'll see you next time.